All right, this is Math 10 A&W with Mr. Sandhu. We are in chapter 1.5, and we are doing example 2 on page 61. I'm going to have a bit of a tough time this morning writing because my pen's not working, so I'm going to do the best I can with a mouse. So example 2, one Thai baht is worth 0.023541 of a Canadian dollar. How many bahts would a tourist in Thailand receive for 200 bucks Canadian? So this step is the critical first step. Whenever doing conversions with currencies, I recommend that you do that first. What we've done here is written a conversion rate. Sometimes when you read the sentence, it's difficult to see a conversion rate. I'll give you an example. If we look at the previous one that we did the other day, scroll up here. This previous example, right here, it's difficult to see what the conversion rate is. I mean, if you look at the solution, they've got a conversion rate. It says 1 Canadian dollar is 0.94192 US. So they're almost equal. But when you read in the statement, it says 1 Canadian dollar is worth 0.94192. So in one respect, you've got numbers here. In another respect, you've got letters. Okay? So when you're trying to start a question like this, step number 1, identify the exchange rate. And in this case, they've used lettering, so we would say 1 Canadian dollar is worth, and so the words is worth could be equal to 0.94192 American dollars. And so this here has all been translated, this information translated into an exchange rate. And that is the first step in my recommendation. So let's go to the question that we're on. In this case, it's a bit more clear. Well, actually, no, it's not. It's not more clear. It's exactly the same as what I just showed you. They are showing that it says 1 Thai baht is worth that much Canadian. So 1 Thai baht, this is difficult to write with this mouse, 1 Thai baht is equal to this much Canadian. Okay? Let's just get that screen to connect again.
He's about to chuck this.
I'm good. We're just having some technical difficulties. I guess computers have Mondays too.
They just have Mr. Sandhu.
Okay, so that's the first step, is to write this exchange rate. The next step, my recommendation. I wonder if my pen works now because of all that. Nope. Guys, I need a quiet room right now, and I need your eyes up on the screen. That's, of course, you know how to do this, then you guys can work away quietly. Ethan? Thanks. Okay, so we have an exchange rate, and I would start by writing down the exchange rate in the form of a ratio. And it doesn't matter whether you put Canadian on top or baht on top. It does not matter, as long as you write the opposite side of the equation the same way. So I'm just going to go ahead and put 1 baht is worth 0.023541 Canadian. Okay. I know that's terrible writing. Doing the best I can here. Okay. So that's our exchange rate written in a ratio. Or written in a fraction, okay? Now on the opposite side, we're going to write what we're trying to find. This is what we have, and this is what we're trying to find. So if you look at the question, it's saying how many bahts. So bahts would be the one that has the x. How many bahts? We don't know. So in this equation, bahts are on top, so we'll put a certain number of bahts are unknown, and we know the Canadian amount of 200 bucks, and we would cross multiply and divide. There's 200 Canadian. Now, do you have to write the units? You do not have to write the units when you get good at this. As long as you're paying attention to what it is that you're placing on top and bottom and you're not mixing them up, you'll be fine. Okay? And we've done this before. This is a simple cross multiply and divide. I'm not going to write it because I've got this mouse going here. I'm just going to punch it in. So we've got x, and across from the x is the 0.023541. That means this is going to be doing the dividing, and the other two are doing the multiplying. So 1 times 200 is 200 divided by 0.023541. So that is our answer, 8,495.81 or 0.82. And there it is there. Okay. Now, this is not any more difficult than what we've been doing the whole course. Setting up a proportion and cross-multiplying and dividing. There's not much new being learned here other than your ability to read a sentence, determine an exchange rate, write that exchange rate that you figured out. Okay, write this exchange rate in the form of a fraction, and then on the opposite side of the equation, write down what you're trying to find and what you have as well. And you just cross-multiply and divide and solve. If you do it this way, you will not have to think about whether you are, and this is the key, you don't have to think about, am I multiplying by 0.023541? Am I multiplying these two numbers together? Or am I dividing these two numbers? You don't have to ask yourself that question. This is the number one place where kids make a mistake because they think intuitively they know whether to multiply the two or divide, and some of you do. But you can't on a test just randomly choose division or choose multiplication and then move on, because you're not going to get a second chance at that question. If you're doing your homework, then yes, you can. You can go ahead and try to divide the two numbers, and if your question is wrong, then you go ahead and multiply the two numbers, and then you might get it right. But on a test, that's a very bad strategy. It's not going to result in success. Okay? So set up a proportion using the exchange rate, and you will get the right answer every time. That's it for this question, and you guys can go ahead and start your Build Your Skills practice.